Right, so in the lead up to Dalot's goal, you can see that Lisandro Martinez is carrying the ball forward into the Steaua Bucharest half. And you can see Mainoo on the right side. He's not actually in the half space because he's sitting in front of the Steaua Bucharest midfield line, but he's on the right side of that front five. And it's actually Dalot who's sitting in the left side of the half space, having inverted infield from left wing back, with Garnacho being the player to hold the width on the left side. And this is something that we did see Amorim use against Fulham, but instead of Dalot it was Mazraoui inverting in from left wing back and Garnacho holding the width in that game. But as Lisandro Martinez is carrying the ball forward into the Steaua Bucharest half, and one thing that is evident is just how horrific the Steaua Bucharest defensive setup is. I mean, you can see they're using a back five with a midfield three in front, but the midfield three is just completely lopsided. I mean, they're shifted over to United's right side, despite Lisandro Martinez having the ball centrally, and so this leaves a massive space for Bruno Fernandes on the left side. The midfield line, but also the defensive line really, which was a key theme throughout the game, just completely lacks any defensive intensity. They don't shift across. Bruno Fernandes just receives the ball in a load of space. But because United are using a front five, you can see that the Steaua Bucharest right wing back and the right sided centre back are positionally pinned backwards because of Dalot and Garnacho's positioning. And so in this situation, neither the right wing back or the right sided centre back are able to push out to close down that space which Bruno Fernandes is going to receive the ball in. And I think this illustrates just how bad the defensive setup is. I mean, you can see Steaua are basically man to man with the right sided central midfielder pushing out and engaging Lisandro Martinez. But because they haven't shifted over, Bruno Fernandes is the free man. Dalot and Garnacho have pinned the right sided centre back and the right wing back backwards. But it still gets worse from here, and this is kind of why I'm not reading too much into the game, because I just thought Steaua were absolutely terrible, just in terms of the basics, in terms of their defensive intensity and things like that, and their overall setup. Bruno Fernandes has the ball here, and you can see how much space he has. He could feed the ball into Dalot, or even find the run of Højlund, who's arcing it around the central centre-back. But instead he's able to just cut inside and drift past the right-sided central midfielder like he's not there. Dalot then actually makes a clever movement because he's initially checked his run, holding a more central position, but as soon as Bruno Fernandes shifts in field, he recognises that he's got to make a facilitating run, and he moves out of that half-space area, dragging the right-sided centre-back away, which opens up the space for Bruno Fernandes to release a shot, and he cracks the bar. And then eventually it does go out for a throw-in on United's right side. But if you thought the initial defending in the lead-up was bad, I mean, it gets even worse. Ahmad takes a throw-in, throws it into Eriksen, and Mainoo, I mean, he does well to check his run and spin his man. But again, just a complete lack of defensive intensity. Mainoo's completely run off of his man. But the worst part about this, from a Steaua Bucharest point of view, is the right wing back at the back post, because, I mean, he doesn't even really look over his shoulder to see where Dalot is. When I say zero awareness, I literally mean zero awareness. Dalot just completely runs off of him. And Mainoo just, I mean, it is a good cross across the box, played into a fantastic area, and that is a benefit of having Mainoo able to push further forward into the box. He does have this sort of quality. But I mean, realistically, this sort of defending, it just made it easy for United. And even the right-sided centre-back doesn't have the awareness to check over his shoulder, realise that Dalot's a free man behind him and move accordingly. And this defending you just wouldn't get in the Premier League. It's genuinely not even Championship defending. It's probably like, I mean, even League One, I'd expect the players to have a bit more intensity, a bit more awareness of what they're doing. It just seemed like the Steaua Bucharest players were playing like a friendly match, or not even a friendly match, just playing in training, because you'd expect better intensity and better just defensive application in a friendly match than we saw in this game. And so Dalot is able to finish at the back post, giving United the lead. Now, before I move on to Mainoo's goal, a quick reminder, I do have an in-game Instagram group chat where we do have analysis and discussion for all the Manchester United games. I am also close to releasing a tactical ebook, so if you are in the group chat when that does come out, you will get it for free, which will be slightly cheaper than just buying it outright. Also, I have got some unreleased videos and articles on my Patreon in the lower tier, so if you do want to sign up, it would be very much appreciated, and I'll leave it linked in all the usual places, the eye above, description, comment section, and on the end screen after the video. So for Mainoo's goal in the lead up, once again, completely shocking defending, and you're going to see just how bad it is, and this is why I'm kind of taking this game with a pinch of salt. Initially, you see United set up in that 3-2 shape at the base of the system as they're carrying the ball out of the defensive third. And on first glance, it seems like Steaua are doing a pretty good job in terms of their defensive setup in this situation, because you've got the front two who are doing well to cut the passing lanes into United's double pivot of Eriksen and Bruno Fernandes. But the first issue is that the right-sided central midfielder for Steaua just is not cutting the passing lane into Garnacho, but he's just completely left the space open for Lisandro Martinez to eventually thread the pass into Garnacho's feet. But the bigger issue is the right wing-back, who once again I mean, he's genuinely not even like championship level defended. I wouldn't even expect this in like the MLS or something, because he's got Dalot, and you can see it's clearly his man. And at this point, he's already kind of losing Dalot, who's getting goal side. But we do see Garnacho and Dalot orchestrate a decent pattern of play here. Garnacho creates a space that Dalot's eventually going to run into by dropping from that high position into the half space, dragging the right-sided centre-back high, leaving that massive space for Dalot to just run off the right wing-back, who once again, just absolutely no awareness whatsoever. Martinez threads a pass into Garnacho, but once again, there's just a real lack of defensive intensity from Steaua Bucharest. Garnacho takes a few touches, he's not really under that much pressure, lays a ball off for Bruno Fernandes, and at this point, the right wing-back is just, I don't even know what he's doing. And when he gets set back to Bruno Fernandes, I mean, I would say it's a good ball, but it's a pretty standard pass. He just lofts it over for Dalot. But to be honest, it's not a fantastic pass from Bruno Fernandes, as it is slightly behind Dalot, but he does excellently to first time flick the ball, and now he can race forward into the open space. But this is the type of situation where Patrick Dogu should be able to improve United, just because he's got more pace than Dalot and is able to drive into that space. But in the centre, you can see Kobbie Mainoo, because of his more advanced position, is now able to keep up with play. But I do have to point out Rasmus Højlund's movement here, because once again, he just doesn't offer anything from this position. I mean, very clearly, he should be moving towards the ball. It's what Xerxes would do, because firstly, it opens up the passing lane for Dalot, who is completely isolated, and Højlund's really his only forward pass. And so Højlund's got to move towards the ball, because not only is it going to open up that passing lane from Dalot, but he's also going to drag the centre-back with him, which in turn should then leave a massive space for Kobbie Mainoo to race into, wherefrom if Dalot can find Højlund's feet and Højlund can take a touch quickly and play a reverse pass into that space that he's created, now Kobbie Mainoo can just race through into a 1v1. But Højlund's movement here doesn't offer anything. It doesn't open up a passing lane for Dalot, and it doesn't create space for Mainoo. I mean, if you put a centre-back, let's just say you put De Ligt or Maguire in this sort of position, their movement here would probably be exactly the same. I mean, Højlund's lack of intelligence in these type of situations is a reason our attacks keep breaking down. And people keep saying, well, he doesn't get the service. Well, yes, he doesn't get the service because he is responsible for the attacks breaking down, because of this type of movement. If Xerxes here, he has more awareness of the space around him and where he's got to move, and he would drop into that space, and so whilst it does look like a poor pass from Dalot, if you actually think about it, he's not really got any other options. I mean, he can't really find Kobbie Mainoo, because the central midfielder is cutting the passing lane to him, and Højlund isn't offering anything. I mean, at the very least, he should be making an arcing run between the two centre-backs, at least offering Dalot an option to play a pass in behind, but he does neither. And this is the same sort of static movement that we saw in the game against Arsenal in the FA Cup, where Bruno Fernandes was able to score with a first-time shot. But Højlund in these type of situations just constantly runs vertical, and he doesn't pose any positional dilemmas for the centre-backs or open up space for teammates around him. But because Steaua Bucharest are pretty terrible, and for some reason a central midfielder, despite the pass basically having no real pace on it, takes a heavy touch. A touch so heavy that Dalot, the one who played the pass, is able to make up the ground and win the ball back. Now from here the ball goes from Dalot to Højlund to Mainoo and out to Garnacho on the left side. And from these sort of positions, I think Garnacho is pretty underrated. We saw it for Ahmad's equaliser against Liverpool, that when he is able to go down the outside on his left foot, he isn't simply just flashing a ball across goal and hoping. He is able to pick his head up, and with his weaker left foot, he's fairly good at being able to pick out players on the edge of the box, as he's going to do here with Mainoo. But something that I did like about this move was the amount of players that United committed forward into the box. You can see you've got Dalot, Ahmad, Højlund, and Mainoo coming in on the edge. But once again, I'm sorry I have to bring it up again, I have to criticise Højlund, because initially he actually positions himself correctly. He gets in front of the centre-back and you think, if Garnacho does play the ball across the box towards the 6-yard box, Højlund's in a pretty good position to maybe get a flick on it towards goal. But then I was looking at it again and I was thinking, an elite level striker in this type of position, I think looks to go near post, checks his run and goes around the outside of the defender, because there's just more space. And if you actually look at the position from where Garnacho is putting in the cross, it does make more sense that Højlund would peel around the defender rather than going in front of him. But even still, I mean, it's not a terrible position, but for some reason he just is almost leaning on a defender and he just gets far too involved in the physical battle for absolutely no reason. There's no reason he should be doing this. And as Garnacho does well to pick out Mainoo a few yards inside of the box, you can see that for some reason Højlund's on the ground. The centre-back does have a bit of a hold on him, but not enough for him to fall to the ground. I just really don't know what he's doing here. But in the end it doesn't matter, because Mainoo's able to finish it first time, slotting it past the keeper, making it 2-0. And so overall, I hate to rain on everyone's parade. I know people were very excited with the performance, But you have to look at the opposition, and I thought Steaua Bucharest were absolutely terrible. It was like an FA Cup tie, where United were playing against like a League 1 or a League 2 side, and the pitch seemed massive as well. And so overall, in regards to Mainoo playing in that more advanced role and the overall team performance, there's not too much I can take from the game, and I'll have to see how we perform and how Mainoo performs particularly in that more advanced role in the Premier League. So let me know what you thought of the game and in particular the goals in the comments section, and if you do want to sign up to the in-game Instagram group chat, I'll leave the Patreon linked on the end screen now.